While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.
Hey guys, welcome in and a very happy, wow, are we almost at the end of February? Yes, we are, and that means college basketball, the season, well, it's coming to a close. Regular season anyway, we've got conference tournaments, and then we've got a whole lot of madness coming our way, but we got to finish the regular season first. And we are going to point out a few games here today with three of the best at WagerTalk and or SportsMemo.com as we welcome back in Drew Martin in the house here today, as is Mr. Mejia. Tony M back in the saddle again, and over at SportsMemo.com, the always profitable Mr. Mid-Major Matt Josephs in the house. Gentlemen, happy Wednesday to you. This week has been interesting, right? Trying to separate the men from the boys in a lot of aspects here, Drew, in these final couple of weeks here. A lot of teams bunched in the middle. A win, one or two wins over the next couple of weeks could be everything to their, playoff hopes here in the tournament. What do you got for us tonight on this card? You narrow it down? Anything at WagerTalk.com?
Absolutely, Joe. Got a 5% up for tonight, a spot I really like in the SEC. We're actually breaking down an SEC game. That's a good one as well. It's not this one, guys. It's another one. Had it circled for a while now. And Joe got a best bet given out in the SEC conference as well. And talking about the SEC, what about Texas A&M last night? Shout out to the Aggies. Speaking of one of the teams, Joe, I think you were kind of setting it up. This is going to be a wild March Madness, guys. I think a lot of different teams have a shot to win the national championship, and it's going to be a really fun March Madness. So I can't wait, Joe, and thanks for having me on, buddy. Excited to break down these games.
Can't wait here because there is a couple of teams playing tonight. I know Drew is going to be interested in. Tony Mejia, what is going on here, brother man? How you been? I know a little reprieve here from the NBA. That'll kick back up again tomorrow. But I know you've been busy with college hoops, man. What do you got for us here tonight?
Yeah, last night took it off. I jinxed TCU, I think, on Monday night, but I had a great Saturday, 7-1, hit 5%, so we're 4-1 on the season there. Looking forward to diving into the NBA tonight for tomorrow's games, and obviously already a 4% play up for the college slate.
Love it. See, opportunities presenting themselves, and Mid-Major Matt Josephs knows all about that over at SportsMemo.com. Always a pleasure. Matt, seems like it's been a hot minute here, but what's been going on with you? Get us caught up over at SportsMemo.com, the season, and what you got ready to roll here tonight.
Yeah, I was happy to wake up this morning and see my Toledo Rockets in first place in the MAC. I hope they're dancing this year, so that way I can bet some team total overs in the tournament. Just a couple of sprinkles tonight, only for the All Access. Nothing we really love. I'm giving the best bet out on the show today. So it's not the best card, but we've been doing well. Last week and a half, a nice little stretch here and a solid season as well as we head towards March when it's really money-making time.
Yeah, no, it's getting good here. Feels like outside of maybe a couple of teams, there is a whole lot that can actually run the tables here this year. But we got to get through. We got to get through the next couple of weeks here before conference tournaments begin, and two teams that could use a couple of pretty big wins down the stretch here as Kentucky and Florida getting ready to go at it here tonight. The Gators, Gainesville, getting 2.5 here. 139.5 is the total. So the big story here is no Colin Castleton, obviously, for Florida. Broken wrist, I believe, so he is done. And, I mean, let's be realistic. That's a huge loss for this Florida team. They basically, I don't know how they're going to get any points in the post there now, Drew. But, hey, it's not like Kentucky's been crushing people on the road this year. So what do you think here? Wildcats, 2.5, laying it on the road. Do you trust them yet to handle business against Florida tonight?
You know what, Joe? I do think Kentucky's the side here. You bring up Castleton being out. That is a huge loss, guys. He's a big rim protector as well on the defensive side. You brought up the fact I think they're going to struggle scoring points in the paint, talking about the Gators here. Look, if you're wanting to be kind of pro Florida in this spot, they are catching 2.5. And at home, they're 11-4 in the formerly known as the O-Dome. Can be a tough place to play when that place gets rocking. I have noticed Florida's playing a little bit more up-tempo, Joe. And Castleton being out, I almost wonder if they're going to be kind of quicker with their offensive possessions. And sure enough, they have played 5 straight to the over. So we get this total under 140. I do like it up and over. But sidewise, Florida's lost 4 of their last 5 games. In Kentucky, you know, John Calipari, as the head coach, you can say whatever you want about him off the court. I don't know him. He might be a terrible guy. Who knows? But on the court, coaching up the players, it seems like each and every year, Joe, and this year being one of them, Kentucky has played up and has played down. Yet as the season goes on, they become a better team. He's a good X's and O coach. He can coach them up. And sure enough, you look at their last 2 games, talking about Kentucky here, they won against Tennessee. They won on the road in Starkville against Mississippi State, both outright as the underdog. They're 17-10 to the over, 6 of their last 7 to the over. They're scoring more. I like Kentucky here, Joe, laying the 2.5, and I like it up and over 139.5.
Oh, okay. Up and over the total here. You know, Tony Mejia, we've got all sorts of contrarian plays on the NBA show that we talk about, and boy, Florida would just be an intriguing spot here tonight, wouldn't it? They can't possibly beat Kentucky without Colin Castleton, although the market seems to disagree as the money has come towards them here tonight. Are you feeling it one way or the other in this one?
Yes, line slightly fishy. If I'm going anywhere, it's going to be with Kentucky. I watched them play a couple of times over the last week plus. And they look sharper. Oscar Tshiebwe was lost earlier in the season. Now he's back to looking like Oscar Tshiebwe. Wallace, the special freshman that really kind of underachieved early, is playing well. You know, if they get buckets from Antonio Reeves and Jacob Toppin, they're toughest to beat because they do lock down on the defensive end, and that's where this game is going to be won, especially on the road. Can Florida find an outlet from be it Kyle Lofton or somebody else to be that go-to scorer that they need with Castleton out? And obviously they're going to have to do by committee against Tshiebwe without the top rim defender in the SEC. And they did not look good against Arkansas, so early returns are not promising there.
No, and you do kind of, we've been all waiting for Kentucky just to kind of like, all right, they're going to figure it out. I mean, they're way too talented here, Matt. If they do figure it out, going to be interesting, the SEC tournament, but they got to get out of Gainesville here tonight. Do you trust that they will?
I mean, we're looking at a Kentucky team that I feel like on a night-to-night basis, you never know what they're going to do. I mean, obviously, they've got some really good wins on the road. They went to Mississippi State and won. They went to Tennessee and won, but they also went to Georgia and lost. They, looked horrendous against Alabama. They lost at home to South Carolina. Now, granted, that was a long time ago. The thing I'm focusing basically on for this one is anything over on Oscar Tshiebwe. I mean, obviously, he's going to get his rebounds without Castleton in there. And I think that Florida's going to pack the paint as much as possible. And that means Reeves and Wallace and guys like that are going to have to hit their shots outside. But in the end, Sheboy is going to feast in this game. So if you could find an over on his rebounds or an over on his points or put the both together, I think Sheboy has a monster game tonight. Whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. They're going to feed him as much as possible, and Florida has nobody who can stop him.
Not many people do have anybody that can stop him. So it should be an interesting one here tonight, guys. Big SEC battle. Florida hosting Kentucky here tonight. Another really big battle happening in the Big East. Boy, look at this one. UConn taking on Providence. And I had to look twice, Drew. I don't know about you, but I'm like 7.5. Is somebody hurt? Like, is half the team? Like, how in the world are they really 7.5 points apart from one another? This Providence and UConn team, 142 is the total. Feels a little suspect, this line. Drew, what do you think of this matchup here tonight?
Sure, Joe. Suspect, trappy. I don't know what to call this line, but the 7 in the hook, more than a touchdown here. I think it looks high. It's pricey. And look, I like UConn. The Huskies are good this year. They've held their last two opponents to 55 and 56 points. They got that lockdown defense. And on the offensive side, they're the #1 offensive rebounding team in the country. Now, this is their early start, 6:30, getting us going tonight. FS1, nationally televised game. And I'll tell you, Joe, I like Providence here. I think the number is too much. This is a good Providence Friars team. They're 12-4 in conference. They're #2 in the Big East, just one game behind Marquette for that regular season Big East title. Ed Cooley, we've talked about it on the show here, guys, before. He's a great guy to bet on as an underdog. And speaking to that, the Friars are 7-1 their last 8 games as a dog. And now they're catching +7.5. And I talked about UConn and their lockdown defense. Well, something's got to give here because Providence on the offensive side, Joe, has scored 94 and 85 points each of their last 2 games. So I think they're able to score here. They're able to score enough to keep it within a touchdown. Give me the Friars plus the 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, I said the same thing about on this show yesterday. We looked at that Creighton Marquette line and going 5.5. Like, what? Are you begging me to play Marquette? I don't know. Are they begging us to play Providence here tonight, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's the final game at Gamble Pavilion, so it's on campus for them this season, and that arena, to me, offers a better home court advantage than the XL Center, which is a larger building. So maybe there's that. The Friars have struggled on the road of late. Drew did point out that they're 7-1 against the number as the dog. I mean, that's a great stat to put in your pocket if you're on the Friars. And they're tough, man. Really like watching them. They play Croswell. He mixes it up with everybody. Presumably, he's going to have to keep Sonogo busy. And Sonogo was one of the top performers in the Big East all season. But UConn has underperformed in the Big East. They got into conference play undefeated and have really underachieved. And you mentioned Marquette. They look like they have the inside track to win the Big East regular season title. So it's been a weird year in the Big East. Certainly, we could see a surprise tonight. I won't be laying 7.5 with UConn, but I could see a situation where Providence is in it for the duration, and then playing the free throw game, trying to get back in it late, maybe miss some shots. UConn wraps it up at the line, and then they cover 7.5 barely. So I'll be staying away from this one.
So, Matt, it's intriguing. Talk about, I mean, you mentioned it, right? Kentucky, inconsistent, can't trust them. Well, UConn, they've been pretty inconsistent, too. What, barely 68 in 3 of the last 4, 68 points, laying 7.5? Do you trust them here tonight against Providence?
I mean, I feel like the things we know as sharps in this industry, there's, taking Ed Cooley as an underdog is like an almost definite thing. And so obviously the books know that. And I think it's rather interesting because everybody you talk to says the same thing, yet this line's not going anywhere. It briefly went down to 7, but there's mostly 7.5s out there. So it does feel interesting that the biggest thing we know is about the coach as an underdog, and yet it's not going anywhere. If you look at that first game, there was a couple of interesting things that stood out there. Jared Bynum only played 9 minutes because he got hurt. That's when he got hurt, and then he went on that time where he was out for about 5 or 6 games. And then one of the other biggest things that benefited Providence, and you don't know how much it's going to do here, they went 29 to 35 from the free throw line. Now, Connecticut fouls a ton, and Providence draws a lot of fouls, but will they get all those fouls, and will they get all those foul shots in Connecticut? Like, obviously, it's completely different when you're home. That intimidating crowd at Providence certainly plays a factor here. Now it's going to be on behind Connecticut. So will Providence get that many free throws? Will they make that many free throws? That kind of gave them the big lead that they had in that game. So it does seem really easy to just take Providence here, hope that they get to the free throw line, and do what Providence does in this situation.
Yeah, it's intriguing, guys. I think the Big East here tonight on display there between Providence and UConn. A battle is going to take place. Should be a good one there. We do have another game going on here tonight in the Sun Belt, which I think is going to be fantastic. If nothing else, this game is going to be damn entertaining. As Marshall taking on JMU, James Madison, is about a pick 'em price. The total has steadily climbed from this morning up to 159 and a half. And mid-major Matt, I'm going to throw it back to you here. This is in your neck of the woods. Over, I'm guessing, maybe? A lot of points here tonight? What are you thinking?
So it's tough because I think people are kind of going off of James Madison from the beginning of the season. If you look all the way down to the end of December when they played that game against Marshall, they ran a lot and they put up a ton of points. There's a bunch of games where they scored over 100. But you kind of look at their last, 7 games here, 65 possessions, 62 possessions, 66 possessions. They're a team that's kind of slowed down a little bit. Their offense has been bogged down a little bit. They're starting to play a little bit of defense. And I think they kind of know that in this game, they can't get into a track meet with Marshall. Now, obviously, whether that happens naturally is without their control here. But, I think this number's a little high. It's one of those games that if you do take the under, you take the under. You throw your computer out the window, you go watch movies, and then you just go and see, oh, yeah, it won or it lost. Because you don't want to be following this around because there's going to be stretches where teams score 20 points in a couple minutes, and then there's going to be some stretches where not a lot happens. But I think James Madison is a team that's learning to slow down a little bit, and I think their offense is getting to be a little bit more effective. I think they'll play better defense against Marshall. They held them to 66 points at their place in that game on New Year's Eve. I also think JMU's the side here. They have a really good home court advantage. They're playing better basketball right now. I think JMU's the side, and I think it's a hold your nose under and just throw your computer out the window and don't pay attention to it.
Oh, that can be a hell of a sweat there with these two teams because points will be coming in bunches at certain times during this game. What do you think, Mejia? Are you leaning one way or the other in this matchup?
Well, I mean, I like watching Marshall play. Obviously, the track meet waiting to happen. Their average possession is less than 15 seconds, quickest in the nation. But the Dukes can run, as Matt pointed out. They're averaging 80.6 points in Sunbelt play. And the big eye opener to me, and why I also agree James Madison is the side specifically at home, is because they won in Huntington right around New Year's, 72-66, without 3 of their best players. 2 of them didn't play at all. Vado Morris and Julian Wooden were out due to COVID, and Takal Molson was still affected by it. He had come back in the lineup and was held scoreless in that game. So for them to win that game over Marshall in their building gives them an advantage. They're pretty deep, this JMU squad. I think I read that Mark Byington does not want to get into a track meet, so I agree that going with the high side is risky, especially getting up there towards 160. But you see where the number is made out. Marshall averages over 82, and James Madison can get you to 80 easily. But I think the play is on the side, and I would ride James Madison at home.
All right, another nod towards JMU here. Drew, what do you think here? Is there a side or a total you're leaning towards in this one?
Well, Joe, sidewise, I mean, I think the Dukes at home are the side. A lot what Tony just said, and plus they've won 6 of their last 7, both straight up and against the spread. So if you like something sidewise, I would go with JMU. And totals wise, I was looking at this, Joe, and they're both top 10 offensive average possession length in the country. So meaning when they get the ball, they are looking to shoot very quickly. So we are going to get likely a ton of possessions. I mean, when you look at the Thundering Herd, they've scored 88, 84, 88, and 92 as their team totals their last 4 games. 4 straight overs here. They're the fastest, pretty much offensive tempo in the country. But to Tony's last point there, and sometimes that can be real key, guys. If one of the teams wants to slow it down, that can be a great angle to bet an under. But also to Matt's point, if you're betting this game under, this is one of those kind of brutal watches because this game is still going to have a ton of possessions up and down and a lot of scoring. And sometimes to watch those when you got an under ticket, it is just very difficult on the eyes. Still, I think to Tony's last point, I think that kind of is very glaring here. And if JMU does slow it down a little bit, to get to 160, you need a clean ride with both teams looking to score. And hey, you need a bet here. It's a tough one to make here, Joe. But to Tony's last point, I think it's a good one. Under 159.5 because JMU, I do think, as the slower team going by their numbers at home, can control the pace. And if they do slow it down, which I would wait for live betting here, guys. This is a good one. If you see it out in the first 5 minutes of the game, JMU is dribbling the ball outside of the 3-point line, letting kind of the clock getting back on defense as much as possible. That could be a key underplay. So that's what I'm going to look to do here, Joe. Marshall, JMU, look to live bet it in the first 5 minutes. And if JMU is slowing it down, I'm going to jump on the under.
Yep, all right, that approach. That's all opportunities here on the card. Across the board here, just those 3 games and then a whole bunch others here as it is crunch time in the regular season across all the conferences in college hoops. And we'll go ahead and go around the horn and see if there is one game in particular these guys like a little bit more than the rest. And Mahia, I'm going to come to you. Start us off here. Is there a game you circled for us here on the show?
Well, yes, it's actually my free play up wt.buzz/TM. You could look at the packages there and recent picks and all that. But it's Dayton laying 8.5 over UMass. And you could read the write-up there. I mean, it's been a frustrating first season for Frank Martin, who's lost his point guard early in the season to Noah Fernandez, and most recently his most productive player, Matt Cross, who started his career at Miami and was at Louisville last season. He went down with a strained MCL. They're hoping that his season isn't done, but he's not going to play tonight, and it's just been par for the course for UMass. Dayton looks like they're getting their act together. They won 3 straight. And although they're probably not going to catch VCU for the Atlantic 10 title, they're still going to be a factor in that tournament. Malachi Smith is back, so you would think that Dayton finishes strong. I think they do so tonight, laying 8.5 over UMass in Amherst.
All right, liking it there. And mid-major Matt, sportsmemo.com. Which way you looking here tonight?
So this is a spot play, and I know that towards the end of the regular season, there's not a lot of room for spot plays because teams are playing. There's like 2, 3, 4 regular season games left, but I like this situation here. I'm taking Valparaiso tonight as the home dog. It's around 8.5 out there, and the reason is you look at Bradley, and right now they're coming off a game where they played at Southern Illinois. It was a 58 possession game. They won by 2. It was a big time game in terms of conference standings. And then on Sunday, they're hosting Drake. And that game's going to mean the world because the 2 of them are tied right now for the 1 seed. And the 1 seed means a guaranteed NIT berth, an easier path in Missouri Valley Championship play. And in between is this game against Valparaiso. Now, I do expect Bradley to win, but this Valpo team's playing better basketball as of late. And if you look at home against some of the better teams, they lost by 4 at home to Southern Illinois. They lost by 3 in double overtime to Drake. They played close against Northern Iowa at home. It's senior night, and there's a lot of seniors in this starting lineup. It's their final home game of their careers because they're not playing in any sort of postseason. So I expect a spirited effort from Valpo tonight, and potentially Bradley gets out to a nice lead in the first half. They start resting guys for Sunday, or they start slowing down a little bit. So I like Valparaiso plus 8.5 tonight as the live dog against Bradley.
All right, there you go. Love it. Valpo taking the court here tonight. And Drew, I have a feeling I know where you're looking at here tonight. Might be in the SEC. It may not be, but tell us which game here you might be looking at tonight.
Absolutely, Joe. I'm heading to the Pearl, guys. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific on the Plains. Auburn is hosting Ole Miss. And Joe, Auburn's going off as 12.5-point favorites. It looks like 136 flat is the total. So we're getting this total in the mid 130s. Ole Miss has played 7 of their last 8 games to the over. Kermit Davis, a good coach. I think they're going more up tempo here, talking about the Rebels. In Auburn, each of their last 4 home games has easily gone over the total. And I actually think there's something to that. Bruce Pearl, the head coach for Auburn, he gets at home. And look, tonight they're minus 12.5-point favorites. That plays into this total. Because if you watch Auburn at home, Joe, it's a great atmosphere, great place to play. He likes his job. And I actually think they play to cover the spread and run it up at home. I've seen other teams do this. And I think Bruce Pearl, I have him circled as one of the coaches that does that. And I think Auburn runs it up on Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss scores on the other side. We get a very moderate total in the mid 130s. Auburn, Ole Miss, up and over, minus 136 is my best bet, Joe.
All right, up and over the total there. Auburn here tonight, and we do have our good friends over at, well, thegoldsheet.com. They've got a play they're looking at tonight. It's going to center around Vanderbilt laying the points here against LSU, and they're pointing out LSU is in the midst of a 13-game losing streak, 2-11 against the number, by the way. The Tigers are last in the SEC in effective field goal offense and defense. Not good. And check out Liam Robbins. He has now scored 24, 24, and 32 in the last 3 games for Vandy. Really, really nice season. Not a whole lot of expectations, but they are certainly exceeding them. Including, according to our friends at thegoldsheet.com, an opportunity to handle business here tonight against LSU. All right, I think another team that's going to handle business here tonight is the Virginia Cavaliers taking on Boston College. I believe the number is, well, they won by 19 the last time they played here. It was an absolute whooping. Virginia just watched Miami go on the road, beat Virginia Tech, and all of a sudden it's getting a little crowded up at the top of the ACC board there between Miami and Virginia. They're not going to leave any room for doubt here tonight. They won by double digits the first go-around. They're going to win by double digits this go-around here against BC tonight. And one more time, here we've got Drew Martin going up and over Ole Miss and Auburn tonight, 136. Mejia, you're going with the Dayton Flyers here, minus 8.5, while Matt's going Valpo here, taking some points in that one against Bradley, and I'm going to go Virginia, lay it against Boston College, while our friends at the Gold Sheet, they like Vandy at a short number, taking on the LSU Tigers. And if you head over to WagerTalk.com, that's where you can find both Tony Mejia and Drew Martin. And if you head over to sportsmemo.com, that is where you can get all of mid-major Matt Joseph's best bets ready to roll here tonight, guys. It's a great college basketball card. It's going to be a great final week and a half of the regular season, and certainly hope you'll partner up with these guys here and get ready for some madness that is coming upon us next month. But until then, on behalf of Drew, Tony, and Mid-Major Matt, we appreciate the time, guys. Best of luck with all the plays here tonight. Come back and join us again tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Good luck, guys. We'll see you then.
While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.